Welcome to the Filmsteins, the podcast where we discuss all things movies. Join us as we dive deep into the latest releases, revisit classic films, and explore the art of cinema. Whether you're a film fanatic or just love a good flick, we've got you covered. From Hollywood blockbusters to indie gems, we'll be breaking down the storytelling, cinematography, and everything in between. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready for some cinematic magic. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/filmsteins. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level, where the $20 tier grants the ability to request films for future episodes. This is the Filmsteins, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience. All around you. And welcome to another glorious episode of the fastest growing podcast on the planet.
Whoa, impressive.
The Filmsteins. I'm joined today, as always, by my trauma friend.
Traumatic? Am I your traumatic friend?
Yeah, you are not. You don't cause trauma, but you are just a walking case of trauma. You're a basket case.
Right.
Of trauma.
I will take it proudly.
Good. Be proud of who you are, as we learned from Flamin' Hot. Don't listen to Eva Longoria and reduce yourself to your people. You know, be proud of you.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my anxiety-ridden, trauma-ridden.
Yeah, just
self.
work on it. Just work on yourself, though, still. You can be proud of yourself and still want to do better. You know?
Ah.
You don't need to stagnate yourself.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
So, you know. You probably guessed from the title of this episode that we are covering probably the most important movie of the year. Ari Aster's new film, Beau is Afraid. Definitely my most anticipated movie of the year.
Yeah, I know.
I've been waiting for this for a while. It took a while to sneak out of theater and get to a place where I can watch it illegally. But
Can we say that?
Of course we can say that.
All right. The Filmsteins, where we watch stuff illegally.
Death to the cinema. I was nervous to watch this because I didn't love Midsommar. I love Hereditary. Midsommar was pretty good. I liked it a lot the first time. The second time, not as much. And I think the third time I liked it a little bit more. But it's one of these films I want to like more than I do. But I do like it. I like Florence Pugh's performance, and I like just the cult, the Swedish cult. That's all it is, I guess. And it's disturbing because cults disturb me. Religion disturbs me. You know, these dogmatic set of beliefs and trains of thoughts disturb me. And I like seeing that on screen, especially when you have old people jumping off a cliff. That's very cool.
Oh, I forgot about that. Maybe I should rewatch that.
It's a great movie. It's not on the level as Hereditary or as you will soon hear Beau's Afraid. Beau's Afraid is on its own level. It's in between. Hereditary I like more still.
Yeah.
But Beau's Afraid is awesome. Probably my favorite movie of the year. What are your high level thoughts, man?
Well, since it was your most anticipated movie of the year, I knew it was going to be weird. And then saw that it was a A24 film, so I was getting ready to be kind of not disappointed, but just like, big eye roll, because you like weird movies. And sometimes they hit and sometimes they don't hit. Like A Ghost Story did not hit. Weird ass movie.
I don't even think that movie's that weird.
Too weird. And what was it? Midsommar, whatever.
Yeah, Midsommar, yeah.
Yeah. I think I should rewatch that one because when we watched it, I think the TV was smaller and I don't think I was wearing my glasses.
Glasses help
and
while
I
watching
wasn't,
a movie.
Yeah, I wasn't in movie watching mode. So I'd forgotten about, the old people jumping off the cliff. So maybe it deserves a rewatch. But Beau's Afraid, I liked a lot more than I thought I was going to like it.
Well, that's awesome because it's a
weird ass film that I like. I mean,
it doesn't get much more surrealistic than this film. If you if you take this any further, it's going to become very art housey and just super colorful and basically impossible to really keep up with. But there's kind of an epic thing happening here. We have a through line with every scene, and it's Beau's trying to get to his mom's funeral.
Yeah.
Which a lot of, I don't know, David Lynch films, they don't really have that through line like that, because that's not the point. But we have kind of a actual story shoved right down the middle of this super, super surrealistic Lord of the Rings style epic. It's cool. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I think it helps people like me who don't always appreciate that kind of weirdness that has, for lack of better words, no point. It, giving it a story definitely helps.
Yeah, it's because, it forces the question of creating art for art's sake versus creating art that has fucking meaning behind it.
Yeah.
And it's, art is this mega buzzword that we've had to just live with for the last 100 years of commercially produced products like films and books and music, of course, right? But not all of that is art, Transformers is not art. Marvel was not art.
There it is.
These mega, Scream is not art. These, even though, just to kind of bring it back down. Some of the moving parts within each of these movies can be kind of artistic, but none of these are a singular vision. I think that's kind of important to a piece of artwork. And it's really hard to analyze it through a true artistic lens when you have so many people working on a thing, which make, unlike, paintings or some video games or books or ceramic things, things that are very intimate and require only an individual, right? Those come from a place and are not inherently art either. If you're just creating art for art's sake, I feel like there does need to be some kind of intention there, something you're exploring, something you're researching, something you're trying to get across, right? But you don't see a lot of super surrealistic stuff like this pay off in such a narrative, way.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Tell me what happens in any of David Lynch's movies that are not The Elephant Man and The Straight Story.
That's where my mind was going to next. I was like, well, there's that one.
No,
that's why I don't like a few of them, because I don't get it. Yeah, there's artistic scenes. There's some weird ass shit like Spike in Eraserhead. That's weird, but I can't really tell you what happened or who did what was whose intentions were, I can't tell you that.
And that's an important point to take away from those movies, because they are first and foremost experiential films, right? Not every film is meant to be experienced like a David Lynch film or a Alejandro Gonzalez. Is that his name? That's not Brazilian. Yeah, and then the Andrei Tarkovsky. Excuse me for my terrible Russian. Those films are a little more experiential than 99% of your normal films, which is nothing wrong about that, right? Stanley Kubrick, maybe you could throw him in here, but I think Stanley Kubrick fits the more symbolic, metaphorical bill that we're kind of seeing here. I think Stanley Kubrick taps less into, well, I don't know, this might be just a very Stanley Kubrick film because it does tap into the human condition and society, which is very important to Stanley Kubrick's films.
Yeah, but in this film, we're only seeing Beau's perspective,
We are, and so that is a super important point that you have to challenge through almost the entirety of the film. And then it's confirmed that Beau's perspective is a legitimate perspective when we meet his mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit. Because, the movie starts with him living in a super dramatic, version of what it is like to live in America.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
In the city.
In the city, yeah. In a crime-ridden, ghetto-ass city where you think at any moment you could be stabbed, robbed, whatever.
Weird
raped.
people doing weird-ass shit out your window.
It reminded me of New Orleans, minus the, instead of the street performances being performances and them trying to get money or impress and just attract a crowd. The street performances were a naked guy fucking just stabbing the air, and if you got too close, you were his victim, his next victim. It also reminds me of that episode in Futurama. I think it might be the very first episode of Futurama where Fry gets in line. Fry's the redheaded character. Are you familiar with Futurama?
I know who the red-haired character is, but
he's sort of,
I don't know their names.
Fry, so he wears the red jacket, right? He's kind of the dumbass of the crew and stuff.
Sure.
He gets in line for this phone booth this booth that looks like a phone booth, right? And he finds out that it's a suicide box. You pay to kill yourself, and it's awesome, and it kind of reminded me of that. And it's just kind of sort of dystopian, but also not. It's definitely making fun of a very particular thing, and it feels very, because of just how out of control it is. It feels like the things you hear about that happen in the random corners of America with our gun violence and our crazy drug trafficking and whatever, kidnappings.
Yeah, I just imagined, those weird ass headlines you hear from Florida. Naked man stabs people
Florida
randomly.
man became a huge meme.
Yes, it did. And you could even Google your birthday and type in your birthday, Florida newspaper or Florida news, and you could see what kind of weird ass shit a weird man in Florida did on your birthday.
It's awesome.
Yes.
I mean, it's scary, but it's awesome that someone has the balls, I guess, to depict that in such a way, because it's not so overtly America. I feel like it could solely tap into that feeling of I'm afraid of crime, which we've all been, which America specifically, but a lot of the world does face with, the mass coverage of serial killers and stuff, since the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And so it could tap into some of that and everything too, but don't forget where most of those killers are at. Right here in the USA. So I like that, because I love that point, and I love that you bring that up, because that is the first question you really have to ask yourself when you meet Beau, because you see his timidness, his gentleness, speaking of which, I just want to say at the top that Joaquin Phoenix's performance, surprise is amazing. 10 out of 10.
Phenomenal.
He's the best actor to ever live. He's the best actor working. It's unfucking believable how good Joaquin Phoenix is, and I can't wait for the second Joker or whatever the fuck else he's in. I hope there's another Ari Aster film with Joaquin Phoenix. I read online at least, that they had a really simpatico relationship. They really bounced off each other super, super well. They'd even get mad at each other like they were like siblings, and then they would meet. They would make up and get the shit done. And so they sound like they might have a really artistically interesting relationship that I hope they continue to explore.
Yeah, I hope they will. There's some directors that definitely have their favorites.
And Ari Aster's just getting going, so he still has the chance to.
Yeah. No, I mean, Joaquin Phoenix did a phenomenal job. I didn't even know his voice could get that soft and vulnerable, and just make me, like, when I would hear it, it would just make me like want to go hug him. I don't get those feelings from a lot of actors. So I mean, it was phenomenal. Definitely best performance.
Yeah, and
I've seen in a while.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, absolutely. I mean, best performance probably since Brendan Fraser. What'd you say?
I said the Joker.
The Joker? I mean, yeah, of course. But I was gonna say Brendan Fraser's performance in The Whale.
Yeah.
He won his Oscar and everything too for it. But so I guess a lot of people think so. But rightfully so too. Though, since I mean that's the only performance I can think of in the last 12 months that's on that level. But when you, yeah, but what I was gonna say, I guess, is when the movie starts, he's such a radical character. He lives in such a radical environment that you are forced to think he has radical behavior in his timidness and stuff because he's like super submissive, right? You are forced to ask yourself, is this character trustworthy?
Is he okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I seeing reality, or am I seeing his distorted reality?
Yeah, that took me a while to grasp, because the film starts really with him at the therapist office. And, something's going on there. You're going to therapy for a reason. Not saying that therapy's only for people that have something majorly wrong with them, but something's wrong with you. You're trying to break through something. You're trying to...
In a film, it is.
Yeah.
It's symbolic of that, yeah.
Yeah. So, something's wrong with this guy.
Yeah.
And then we see him walking to his apartment, and we see all these, like, weird things in the background on his way there. Like, I don't know, it was some sort of vendors out there, or market maybe. And there's people out there with guns and just people doing weird shit. And you're like, where does he live? And you don't immediately think, this is what Beau is seeing. You think, where's this guy at?
Yeah.
And then he gets to his apartment and you're like, where is he at? Where is this place? Is this place a make-believe place? Is this place in America? Like, where is this place? And then it continues through the first act and you're like, oh, this is how he sees the world. And it just gets instantly better when that fucking hits you.
But they do, like, exactly like what you're saying, though. They do such a good way to keep that challenged in your mind, and that he wasn't acknowledging a lot of it. And then he acknowledged the one guy who was gonna stab him or whatever, but right before he ran into it, he's just like, oh shit, something. Okay, he's acknowledging it for the first time, and then we see it on the news, and he hears about the guy who's going into different people's apartments and stabbing them when they're sleeping or whatever. So he locks the door and stuff, and so it's like you're just constantly kind of tugging and pulling with him. Is this real?
Yeah.
And it's awesome, and it takes so long. I mean, it takes the whole movie to really confirm that, yeah, this is real.
That's true. In the first act, I was like, okay, maybe...
It's exhausting.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Keeping up with that, like...
Yeah, in the first act, you think it. I guess, yeah, you think, is this his perspective? It is his perspective, because how is this crazy? And then something happens, and you're like, okay, this is not his perspective. This is real life. This is what's happening around him. And then something else happens, like when we get into the, what are their names? Grace and Richard, that save him after they hit him with a car. And then you see Jeeves, and you're like, wait a minute, is this guy real? What is this? Why are these people taking care of him? Why is he in an IV? Why does he have an IV in his arm? Like, what is happening? What?
Yeah, they also, that couple helps confirm that it's real too, because I actually, when he first arrives, it's so like perfect and he's being cared for that you're like, I guess it's such a polarizing move going from his crime-ridden street to this suburban rich household that it's hard to, it continues to challenge, is this, what the fuck is actually happening? Then we meet the daughter. She's crazy. It's like, but how crazy is she? All daughters are crazy. All teenagers are crazy, right? And then we get that punctuated with her drinking paint. It's just like, okay. And then but then it's, we get another level of confirmation where the mom freaks out. It actually, it's happening, and she freaks the fuck out, and we because you think for a brief second, is she gonna understand Beau?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because she's been so empathetic to Beau, and she's even she starts to form this weird whispery relationship to him that you're like, why is she whispering to him? What is she left a note saying, stop incriminating yourself.
Yeah, something like that.
Like what?
And then she gives him the remote to watch himself on the TV.
Yeah, I want to, before we get too far away from that, I like that Ari Aster, he likes telling you what's going to happen in the movie before it happens. He does that twice in this. Once with the TV and then the second with them in the forest when the play. He almost tells you the entire story of what's happening.
I got the one with the TV. I didn't get the one with the forest. Maybe if you say it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I did think that. But before we get even further, the most important, I guess it's not important, the biggest of those examples of is this real or not is his mother dead? Did that really happen? Because you have this Amazon UPS delivery guy telling him his mom is dead and that he just randomly answered the phone while he was delivering this package because no one answered the door, and that he doesn't see a head and there's a chandelier on the ground. Like, what? And then the lawyer calls to tell him that he wasn't at the funeral and that his mom's like dying wish was for him to be there, or was it to not start without Beau there or something? That was her dying wish, to not start the funeral without Beau there or something. And that gets kind of confirmed, like, okay, wait, his mom is dead. And that keeps happening.
Yeah, and I don't know if you got it, or I'm not sure if you even know, because it's not a thing that we're really around. But when people practice Shiva, you want to get the person buried and go through the funeral as soon as possible.
I think he said that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the lawyer said that.
Yeah. It's like, I think you damn your body or your soul if you wait too long, which is hilarious. Gotta get him in the ground.
No.
So if this movie doesn't win some stuff for everything, first of all, but production design is fucking off the chain in this movie. What won last year at the Oscars? Do you remember? Oh, it was All Quiet on the Western Front.
That's right.
Wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. This is definitely on that level. That's the first thing that stuck out to me in this movie. I mean, of course, because the first act is just ridiculous on the spectacle level of how the streets put together and stuff, and all these homeless and killers and shit, people walking around.
Yeah.
It's so fucking crazy.
And when they get into his apartment.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. This is probably the best movie I've ever seen, or I should say the most effective movie I've ever seen when it comes to instilling some kind of like artificial anxiety in you. Yeah.
And that has everything to do with, the editing, of course, right? And the performance. But when he's in the fucking convenience store trying to get water from taking this pill that he was supposed to take with water, that his fucking water was out or something, didn't have any water bottles. And then, of course, when he Googles what happens when you take the pill without water,
you're going to die.
It's the first thing that pops up. And it's the first thing he focuses on and stuff, at least. And which just that particular point, when he looks that up, harkens back to, can I trust this guy? Because everyone thinks when they look something up, they think the worst thing is going to happen. Whatever the worst symptom is, that's fucking happening right now. Whatever the side effects are going to be, that the worst ones are going to happen. That's everyone, right? And so that challenges you even further constantly, man. There's so many things in this movie that do this. That can I trust this guy?
Yeah.
It's so awesome. So, but he goes across the street. It's just it's so fucking good. There's so many fucking good scenes. He takes the pill. He's trying to get the water. He looks out the window, sees the guy bringing in the water into the convenience store, and he's looking around, all the fucking criminals, right? All the killers. He's like freaking out, like, oh my God, how much time do I have and shit? And then he runs out there. He runs to the front of the building.
His card gets declined. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
And he has to find cash and coins and.
It's so good. It's so good. He puts a phone book in between the door and like where it shuts, so he can just run right back in, so he doesn't put the code in or anything, I guess. and his card gets declined. He goes to the convenience store, his card gets declined, and he tries to pay with cash, with coins, right? And the clerk is just fucking being weird, man. He's not taking, he wants exact change or something. I don't know. He's like, I'm gonna call the cops, and Beau's just like, what the fuck? Why?
He's like, hold on, give me a second.
Just take the coins and stuff. And then at the same time, one after another, one homeless person, 3 homeless people, 5 homeless people, 10 homeless people, 20 homeless people are all walking in the hotel, and they're all looking at Beau as they do it.
I know.
And then the final homeless person, as Beau's trying to run to the lobby door, pulls out the fucking phone book, and he can't get in because I guess he doesn't have the code. He's trying to reach the manager, the landlord or whatever, and he's not letting him in, and he sleeps outside. Goddamn.
Yeah.
And then what is that? 6-7 minutes? It's crazy. It's so crazy. It does such a good job building up this character, I guess, first and foremost, but that first act does such an excellent job setting up, I guess, it's hard to say a roller coaster of a film. It is a roller coaster of a film, but you never go low enough to fucking have any relief, you know? You're going up and down, and then you're still like, as you go up, you're going up a little further than last time. You go down, oh no, you're going back up. You never get like this plateau or anything, man. It's just constant. I don't know, man. It's hard. I guess I don't know if I feel anything other than being just totally exhausted by this film. Probably an hour in, I'm exhausted and at that point having a hard time. I guess just having a hard time keeping up with Beau. You know, I can keep up with the story fine and everything, whatever, but Beau drags you along, you know?
Yeah, I love that Ari Aster, I forgot his name there for a second, played with a lot of these funny but true anxiety bits. I love them so much. You know, leaving your key on the door for a split second to run inside or go get something, and then it's gone. Holy shit. And then his luggage is gone, and now there's a whole party inside his house. Or great example, probably my second favorite example, the water. He took his medicine without water. Now you're gonna die, and now you're Googling your symptoms, and you're like, I have a headache, what is wrong with me? Oh, you have probably a brain tumor or an aneurysm. Like, pick your poison. Or when he's outside, he's naked, and the police is like pointing the gun at him, and he's like, no, don't shoot me. And the police is like, stay still. And he's like,
me do this.
I am still. And he's just shaking. And I'm scared of being in a situation where police is pointing a gun at me and I'm being still, and they're like yelling at me to be still, and you don't know what to do because you're obviously still, but they're there with the gun and they're the authority. And there's so many great examples. And I'm going to ask you if there's one you can relate to, but the one I relate to the most, and it's, I think, my favorite scene in the whole film, is when he's taking a bath. And he looks around the room. This is after there were crazy ball people in there.
Yeah, they're all a big gone. Homeless party.
Yeah, the homeless party. They're all gone. He looked. I saw him. He looked. I looked with him around the room.
Yeah, they destroyed the house. They destroyed the apartment.
Yeah. He turns on the water because he's going to take a bath after he finds out his mom's dead. Lays in the bathtub to hopefully calm down. Looks up, and there is a man hanging on the ceiling,
like crying.
Yes.
And I
loved it so much, and that is probably one of my biggest anxieties. I go in a room and I'm gonna look around in my own home. I'm gonna look at the ceiling. I don't know what I do if I ever find a person anywhere that shouldn't be there, but that is one of my biggest anxieties. And I love that he put that in the film. And what is he doing there? How is he holding on? How do they even film that? There's a spider crawling on him. A brown recluse. And Beau's in the tub.
Naked.
Oh my God. It was awesome.
When he first got in the tub, when he first got in the water, laid down, I noticed a couple drips coming from
You did?
the ceiling, and I was like, "That's weird."
Oh my god.
That's all. I was just like, "That's." I guess he has a leak or something. I saw like 2 or 3 drop, and then but probably 60 seconds later, Beau looks up, and we see the guy up there, and he's crying or sweating. It's like fucking weird. It's just so weird, and it is such a great climax to the first act that gets Beau moving, really, into
that's how he ends up naked on the street with a police officer about to point at him.
Hit by the car. That's how he gets taken to Roger. That's his name, right?
Roger and Grace, yeah.
Roger, you said Richard.
I said Richard?
Yeah.
Wait.
I was thinking.
I wrote it down. Roger.
You said Richard earlier. I was like, is that right? Roger. It just popped in my head.
R word.
Yeah. But it gets the naked man being, not naked man, he wasn't naked, but him being attached to the ceiling ninja style.
Oh my god. It was awesome.
Almost like, horror movie possession style, attached to the ceiling, and he's like sweating and crying, and the camera's going back and forth real close to their face, cutting and stuff, and he fucking falls on him.
I know.
And they're in the pool. There's a few Lynchian kind of bits in there, and this one might be the first one I'd probably have to rewatch the film and really write them down, but they swirl around in the pool probably for a whole, or not the pool, in the bathtub for a whole minute probably. And I'm just thinking, I'm just in shock. I'm just in fucking shock. And then of course I'm thinking, is Joaquin Phoenix actually naked? And I was like, this is crazy. It's like,
I'm sure he is.
I'd be willing to bet, Joaquin Phoenix is naked in every naked scene. He's actually naked. I'd be willing to bet. He's a pro. Yeah. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I love them. And it's not just in the first act that they play with a lot of these, anxiety scenes, for for whatever you want to call them. Another one I liked was when Tony, the daughter, was supposedly taking him to his mom's, and it's her driving, and then her best friend is in the passenger seat, and they're gonna drive Beau to his mom's house, and then they offer him, I'm assuming, some weed, right? I don't know if they said it, but they're offering him something to smoke, and he's like, no, I'm fine. They're like, take it, I'm fine, take it. They pressure him into taking it, and then they film him, and I don't want to be filmed when I'm doing something I don't want to do. I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to that. Yeah. You don't want to be filmed by 2 teenagers. Now being older, I don't want to be filmed by teenagers. Yeah. Doing weird shit. So I love that they keep going with those kinds of things. It's pretty awesome. I love it. Did you have one that speaks to you or relates, or you feel like you could relate to? Or maybe just one that was really weird or bizarre?
Well, my favorite was definitely when his mom was, telling him that he's never loved her in the way she wants to be loved, and that she spun all of these scenarios that happened to him in her favor to prove that Beau doesn't love her, and to prove that Beau's going to do everything he can to inconvenience his mom, basically, even up to her death. Even up to and past her death. I liked that a lot. I liked that. That was my favorite. Relate-wise, I mean, I don't know, this movie taps into such a, modernity that I can relate to every inch of it.
Yeah.
Not to the extremity that it's gone, obviously, but it's...
I can for some of them, for sure.
It's so... It taps into every anxiety you could possibly imagine, other than, I don't know, stage fright,
That's true. Public speaking.
It's insane. This movie is underappreciated.
I definitely agree. It's underappreciated. And I like that you bring up that point about the mom, because that's also something a lot of people can relate to, having a narcissistic mother,
or just people in their lives.
Or people in your lives, but definitely mothers. And it's funny you say that because I, feel like my mom can be narcissistic. So hearing her make those points kind of made me believe her. And I'm like, wait, no, she's wrong. But she says them, and I'm like, oh, how ungrateful he's, doing these things, and his mom's there.
By the time that happens, we have confirmed that what Beau's experiencing is what he's experienced. We know what it's the reality of the situation. At least the actions are, right? We know that Beau's keys just disappeared, his luggage just disappeared, right? But how convenient, his mom says, that all these things disappear, but how convenient that Roger isn't going to take you and stuff. And we were there the whole time, and it retroactively kind of taps into being accused of something that you just didn't do, and that's one of everyone's biggest fears, especially growing up. Probably I don't know where that starts. I used to really have that in me where it actually was almost the inverse, where I didn't want it to happen, of course, but I was ready. I always felt like I was ready
to defend yourself,
to defend myself. So it was kind of tapping into that on that level, because I just wasn't going to have that.
That's hilarious. I was ready to be blamed.
I was ready to not be blamed. Probably to the point, I didn't do very many bad things, but I was probably to the point to defend even the bad things. I was like, didn't do that, obviously. Because of this, and this. This is my alibi. Go check. And then I set it up, and I'm good.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. A big theme here, having the narcissistic, manipulating mother. And one of the biggest reveals, which also feels so intrusive, so just making your hairs on your arms, just on your neck, whatever the saying is, just stand up, is when you find out that the mom and the therapist are in cahoots. And that's, add that to the list of somebody's biggest fear, that you have a therapist who you tell all your secrets to, your thoughts, your most vulnerable thoughts that you don't share with anybody, because they get some of those out of you and you don't want to, but they do, and now they have this information. Yeah. So now your mom, who's not the best person here, has this information, and it's recorded and it's being played back to you.
It's recorded everywhere. She's got footage from you in every corner of where you've ever been. It's kind of like an weird inverted form of gaslighting.
Oh my god.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you thought you were safe, you were telling your secrets, right? But in fact, your mom and your therapist are best friends. Yes.
Because she's even like, which one should I play, or whatever she says, or which one's my favorite, I can't pick, or whatever she says. And the therapist is like, oh, how about, on August 3rd, blah, 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 or whatever the date was. And then she starts playing him talking about the dream that he had. And you're just sitting there like, what? Can they even do that? Can she do this?
It's awesome. Because I also had like a weird preconceived bias for the therapist, because he was this real gentle person, and Lady Bird, he was like I guess a counselor, and he helped the main character kind of figure out her way. And so he does really embrace this or emit this gentleness. He does a really good job, I guess, at that, the therapist counselor kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was funny because I felt extra safe with him. And
no!
And then he's got a weird smile.
He does.
And then I guess he's an albino black guy. He's very light skinned. He's got kind of a weird look to him and stuff. And so like him smiling and him fucking lying basically, and it's just like it's just the combination. And then he's quiet when Beau walks away and stuff. Like he's not antagonistic. He's like real gentle still, and it's like so
It's eerie.
It feels very oxymoron-y. Like, I shouldn't, like, what is, I don't know where this is going.
Do I like him? Do I not like
Yeah.
him?
It's such a challenging point. Like, there's so many, you're constantly challenged in this film. But it's not challenging in the sense that it's hard to dislike. I mean, it's hard to like. It's very easy to like, I feel like, because it's so funny, actually.
Yeah.
And very relatable and outrageous and absurdist. Although the absurd stuff, I think, is, starts to tap into maybe harder to like and enjoy and have fun. Because I wouldn't. Did you have fun watching this movie? I'm not sure if I had fun watching this movie. I was exhausted watching this movie.
I had fun watching this film. There were a few scenes, maybe majority of the second act, actually, with Richard and
Roger.
Fuck. With Roger and Grace. And then
yeah.
I guess, would you consider the play the second part of the second act?
No, I wouldn't. I'd say there's 4 acts in this movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the second and...
Which is not uncommon for a 3-hour movie to have 4 acts.
Okay, so the second and I guess third act would be the play. Those two, I don't want to say they were low for me, but they were a little bit harder for me to have fun with. But definitely the first act and the end were some of the funnest that I had.
Absolutely. I like the beginning and the end the best. Although I did like the play part quite a bit. And that guy revealing himself, or so Beau thinks, as his dad.
Yeah.
Which is just weird. It's so... What was that? I'm not even sure what that is. Is that Beau's dad? And the other one, the other dad we see later is a like elephantitis penis that grew off of him and became sentient. Is that where things went? I'm not sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. For me, the, I guess, third act with the play and the forest was the least cohesive to the story, in my opinion. It was, I didn't get it. I didn't get the point of the play. I didn't get the point of, Beau becoming old and then having kids, and then he tells them he's never had sex before, and they're like, but wait, how are we your kids? And you're like, what? That's true, but what is the point here? Then the thing with the dad, and then the like animation mix of the way they told it. It was a lot for me there.
Yeah, it was. I will say that section was, I don't know how I can say this, but it was sensation overload. There was a lot happening, even more so in a weird way than the first 2 acts. The second act, not a lot is happening, and it's kind of our recovery time, just like Beau's.
Yeah. Okay.
And but the third act is, I think, is probably the deepest cut at a societal kind of commentary, because I think Ari Aster is making fun of, on some level, and being very real and vulnerable, in that he's making fun of, not in a bad way, the viewer empathizing and familiarizing themselves with what's happening on screen. And Beau's doing that. Beau at this point is, I mean, he's obviously the audience surrogate, right? He is our only character, really, right? And Beau is now watching this play as we watch Beau watch the play, and now Beau is in the play. He's empathizing and sympathizing on such a deep level that he's literally immersed in the play, that he sees himself in the play, and he's basically in a trance. And I think Ari Aster is weirdly, masterfully, because I think the point of him realizing that he has kids in the play, right? Beau, he's old, he has kids in the play. They're hugging him, and he's like, oh wait, I've never had sex. You guys aren't my kids. And it's awesome. The performance is awesome because they're all crying and stuff, and it's all fucking weird. It's just like, okay, you're not. Because at this point it's such a epic, like a literal epic, like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Neverending Story, where we hit these big, milestones in the movies or whatever, or a corner, how do you want to say it, like, like the quests in the movies, basically, that it's hard to kind of, but because of the content of the movie, it's kind of hard to guess where things are going, other than that Beau's objective is to go see his mother's funeral, right? So it's kind of, we're letting, and they play into this later in the movie, that Beau's just kind of going with the flow. He's not making his own choices, right? He's just kind of, which is, it's so important. It's all so fucking important to one another, right? And that moment when he realizes, oh wait, I don't have kids. I've never even had sex. Those are those moments when the immersion's broken in movies and video games, right? Because you all of a sudden can't empathize with that, and then they happen randomly, right? When the immersion is broken, in whatever you're talking about, but in this particular example, we see because everything you experience in life, like when you're experiencing some kind of art or entertainment, movies, video games, music, maybe less so music, but TV and things you spend a lot of time with, right? And you're knowing these characters. There's random things that take you out of it, right? There's random things that can make you hate the fucking movie, right? And I think he's on some level kind of poking at that with this particular section in a really meta way, while at the same time telling the entire story through the play, Beau's story through the play, because Beau's, he's literally putting himself. He's kind of, I guess, in some angle, he's kind of predicting what's about to happen,
Yeah, that's pretty fucking clever. And you can kind of see that at the end, the very, very end, where when he has that, whole trial thing, and the boat flips over, and he's like drowning, basically, and then the audience just gets up and starts walking out. Like, all right, it's over. Let's get out of here. And then that was very jarring.
Which is also great. It's great. Stop right there. What is that? That's like a Coliseum, right? Mm-hmm. What is a Coliseum? There's two things that Coliseums used to offer us, and that is a place to cast judgment, mm-hmm. and a place to get entertainment from. So we're getting at the same time the jury, the defense. We're getting Beau's defense to his mother, because she's casting judgment. She is the judge, executioner. She is the offended, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, she has her audience. You have your audience in court too. But it's like you said, though, they take it that extra mile when Beau's boat flips over. Everyone leaves like a movie theater. And then you have your leftovers who maybe are crying, like her mother, like his mother in this. But I guess one thing I really liked about that scene that was from the funnier angle was Beau's defense, Beau's attorney.
Oh, that was funny. You
couldn't even see him. He was just this little thing over there, and it said something like the defense's attorney or whatever, and like neon lights above him, and like cheap neon, cheap lawyer lights and stuff. What you'd imagine would be on, some criminal defense's lawyer's firm, right?
Like their sign
outside, yeah, which is awesome. And he doesn't have a megaphone or anything. He's not, so he has to yell. And then his mom's attorney has, he's got the floor, and we get real close to him. We see them, it's awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And of course, that is kind of the major climax of Beau's story, in that he was ready to accept, what was about to happen. It was kind of his only moment of relaxation in the whole movie was seconds before he died. Did you catch that? Everything was he was like, like, no, I don't, what?
Yeah.
And then he was just kind of took a deep breath and,
yep.
All right, this is going to happen. And then he slowly, very Lynchian, dies. Gets drowned because his feet are glued to the boat, and the boat flips over. And then at the same time all that is happening, the boat's fucking blowing up, the engine's like, making crazy sounds and catching on fire and stuff, and building the anxieties, of course. And it's awesome. It's awesome. Did you think he got away when he got in the boat?
Yeah, I thought he did, and he didn't. with a mother like that, I wouldn't either.
Yeah. Because that transition was probably the biggest stretch in I don't want to say grounded filmmaking, because this movie's not grounded, but as far as like the world we were presented, him leaving his mother's house, getting into the boat, boating across some distance, and then just appearing in a darkened Coliseum is a little bit of a stretch of the kind of the geography of the world we've kind of been presented and stuff. But
yeah,
it's when you set up the structure of the movie we have, the epic style Lord of the Rings style movie we have, it makes it totally excusable. You know, it's not even something you may notice. The transition of where we are just all of a sudden, you know, because he's on the most crime-ridden place on planet. All of a sudden he is in a super nice place, super nice mansion house or whatever. And then all of a sudden he's at a fucking forest theater, and all of a sudden he's at his mom's house. Is that immediately after?
Yeah, I think he hitches a ride.
Yeah.
But
which is awesome too. The hitching of the ride is awesome. It's so quick, and you're just like, what's gonna go wrong? What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say that we got a hint of, you know, the boat when he was at Grace's and Roger's house, and she gave him the remote, and he could see, you know, what was gonna happen in the future. So we got a hint there of what was gonna happen, but I didn't think that was gonna happen. I thought there was gonna be a boat somewhere and someone was gonna die, but I didn't think it was gonna be Beau. And I mean, there's so much weird stuff that happens that you don't know, like maybe what the point was, or what you want to like tap into.
What do you write?
Or when his friends go through the trash.
I mean, hang on, that might be in the movie.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, I was going to talk about all the other weird stuff that happens, that it's just weird. It's just weird things that happen in this film that I don't know what the point is of them, but they're just creepy and weird. For example, did he have a brother and she did lock him up in the attic?
Yes.
And then she locked the dad up in there too? And they both died up there?
No, they were up there.
Well, the dad was turned into something.
He was a penis.
But was he?
Mm-hmm.
See? Like, what?
Yeah, and then
what is this supposed to mean here?
The old guy next to him?
That was his brother.
That was his brother.
Okay.
He's been up there the whole time. That Beau thought...
Did she feed him? Like,
that kind of stuff's not important. The feeding, not important.
That's important to me. I need to know. And then, you know, the mom faking her death. And Beau was just like cool with it. He expected it. He saw it coming. Just another weird shit mom does. Like, what? Who fakes their own death? Which is funny because I just read an article the other day about this guy that faked his own death in Belgium. And he was trying to like teach his family a lesson on, you know, because I think his like immediate family, like his wife and his kids, were in on it, but his extended family, like aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, maybe, they went to his funeral and everyone was crying, and then he like shows up in a helicopter and lands, and like everybody's happy he's alive, and he's like, yeah, that's why you should, you know, you guys should come see me. We shouldn't ignore each other. Like this big life lesson on appreciate your people. And, you know, people gave him shit about that. Which you should. And you shouldn't. You know? So it's just weird. It's weird. Who fakes their own death? I guess people do fake their own death. I don't know. Why is she doing that?
Yeah, we didn't get a lot of introspection when it came to that. When it came to Beau thinking about that. Because we see his reaction, you know, of his mom dying, being told by the UPS man, right? He's still for 24 hours, man, and at some point he sees a picture on the news, I think, of her hands, And then he knows. He immediately knows then, because we find out later that he knew that was like his mom's.
The housekeeper.
The housekeeper.
Or the babysitter or whatever.
Yeah, that she's been there for like 45 years or something like that. And she volunteered because the mom offered her, I guess, generational money to her family and stuff, and at her sacrifice after she volunteered. And he immediately knew, so we didn't really. Maybe we need to rewatch it.
I thought he didn't find out until he was there at the house and he saw the hands across the casket.
He knew when he watched the news station.
I didn't pay attention to that.
Yeah, because I thought a minute. I
just saw the body.
Because what I thought was when he was watching the news station, there was a lady talking, and I thought he thought that lady was his mom, like because he knew her disguise or something like that. But he saw he saw the hands of that lady, the dead lady, the housekeeper, and that's when he knew. So I think it was even before. It might have been at Roger and Grace's house, but I think it was even before he left. It may have been at Roger and Grace's house. I can't remember when he was watching the TV, but he saw it then.
Okay, I thought his first time seeing it was when she was in the casket and her hands were across her belly, and they kind of zoomed in on the hand. And I saw the birthmark, but I didn't think much of it. I thought I was supposed to focus on the ring that she had on her hand.
Yes, I think that's what I looked at too.
But, okay, I guess I wasn't paying a lot of attention during that.
But we didn't get a good character shift happening there. So it's also, I wouldn't say that's what's very important about the film. I think this film probably first and foremost is kind of a comedy. Was it a comedy first and foremost?
Yeah, I think it's an exaggerated perspective on how someone with Beau's problems sees the world. And that's very funny. How he sees the world, it's hilarious. And you mentioning it's a comedy, I think it fits.
Yeah, it's a family dramedy, basically, first and foremost. Or it's comedy first and foremost just because of the absurd nature of it. I feel like absurdism has a hard time, at least in film, having a super, super serious, only exclusively super serious tone. So I think it's inherently funny, which I think you will find in existential literature. I think it's kind of unavoidable to just not, if you don't laugh, you'll cry kind of thing. So there's just a lot of laughter in existentialism.
Yep.
And I guess I should say, speaking of this movie reminded me of Sartre's, probably most famous book, Nausea, where I thought we were, because I guess I also will say, just stick with me here. This movie does not start off with mommy issues in the way that makes you think that's where it's going to land, especially because we think the mom's dead, So the mommy issues are just not at the forefront of your mind completely, it's just, you know what I'm saying?
Kind of.
And so what's at the forefront of my mind is Beau is disturbed by everything. And that is the crux of Sartre's Nausea book. And I thought we were leaning into, which we do a little bit, inevitably. I'm glad it's not just that. It's definitely not just that. It couldn't be in a million years. You couldn't make a movie around that anyways. It's just a way to kind of embellish a specific character and the comedic nature of it. But I lost that feeling by the time we got to the play, too, though. That was definitely, the first act was definitely the crux of that feeling of him being afraid of everything. But also rightfully so. But, because I was having a hard time trusting the character. So I was like, is he just disturbed by everything? Or is everything disturbing? Yeah. And that's, the sweet spot where super hyper existentialists live. Especially Sartre's main character in Nausea. Because he's unsettled by the very mundane things in the world. And so it's like, it's just another challenging, interesting point. Because there's no mundanity here. Nothing in this movie is mundane, So we lose touch with the typical human condition in that way, but we are still dealing with the most extreme take on it too at the same time. And so it's cool. This movie, This might be the most interesting movie I've ever seen in my life. Not my favorite movie. It's definitely probably up there now. It's probably my top 25. But this movie is deeply interesting from every single thing that happens in it. Maybe every shot.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very...
This is the kind of movie you put on for your friends to test them to see if they're... to see how real and how much of a friend they are.
I don't think so.
This is it.
No, because even though it was good, it was still hard to watch for 3 hours. 3 hours was a lot.
It is a lot, yeah. And I think, I mean, I hate to defend this in the same way that you defend every 3-hour movie a lot of times, is that the excessiveness is an important point, but I think the excessiveness in the sense that you're so exhausted by the end is an important point, because being anxious and afraid and unsettled by everything is exhausting.
Yeah, but I already experience that every day. I don't want to sit through a 3-hour movie to experience that.
I know, which just makes the theater scene that much funnier.
God. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting movie. It's definitely a weird movie, but you have to watch it. It's very different from a lot of things.
Before we watched it, I saw that it cost about $35 million to produce, so it's probably upwards of $60 to $80 million to make from beginning to end, with directors and with Ari Aster's pay and Joaquin Phoenix's pay and marketing and stuff, right? But this movie only made $10 million.
Oh no!
So
that's pretty.
That sucks.
We're part of the problem, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, there's not enough of us to make up for that difference. But I'm also at the same time not surprised this movie did not make a lot of money, because it's a weird movie. This is not a meme movie, you know. This is not a.
But it's weird, but it's not that weird, like you said in the beginning of the podcast or the episode. It's not Lynchian weird. There's funny elements. There's a plot. There's a point from A to B. It's so relatable. How do people not like this? And it's so extreme. It doesn't stop. You know, like a roller coaster. You got your ups and downs, but it doesn't stop. And you even said that. You compared it to one. So how do you not like it? I think people just don't. I don't want to say they don't get it, because it's not that hard to get.
No. It's part of it's just another product of the human condition. We've all experienced it, you know? If you're watching a movie, you're good to go, I think, for this.
But a lot of the reviews I saw, people were confused.
Oh, tell me about that. I didn't really read any reviews.
Yeah, they were saying there's no logic to this film. What? I think it's very logical. If you're talking about, you know, the weird ass phallic dad in the attic, okay, yeah, that maybe that one part is not very logical.
I'm gonna have to think about that.
What do you
a
mean?
little bit more. But yeah, I mean, it's as logical as a never-ending story.
They were confused, very confused. What's so confusing?
It's really, yeah, there's a really bold through line here, and then it gets a little more interesting story-wise and dialogue-wise at the very end. You know, the last 25-30 minutes are the only time you really need to focus on what people are saying, you know, and that's just, and you're going to, if you made it that far, I guess, because he's talking to his mother, who we thought was dead,
mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Or at least we were like, what the fuck is up with the mom, you know, kind of thing. That's like the moment we're waiting for, is something to do with his mom, whether he's at the funeral, something's going to happen. Something's obviously going to happen based off of 90% of the rest of the movie, right? Some shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then we didn't even talk about how his mom gets revealed.
Oh my gosh, that's probably one of my favorite comedic parts in this film.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre, too.
It's so good that you don't even know if you can trust it, because it's so weird.
I know. It's like, you know, he found out his mom's, you know, quote, dead. He's taking a nap. chilling in her couch, on her couch. And then Elaine walks in, his childhood crush, childhood sweetheart, that they were going to wait on each other forever. Then he hooks up with her on the mom's bed. And while they're about to have sex, she starts playing this Mariah Carey song, Always Be My Baby. And then Beau is terrified because if he, has an orgasm, he will die based on what his mom told him his whole life. But it feels good, but I'm gonna die. And he's just terrified, and he's, mix of emotions here, I bet. And then he does, and he's alive, and he's thankful, and he's probably one of the happiest people on earth.
He's so relieved.
Literally
and emotionally.
And he looks up, and fucking Elaine is dead. She died, and she just falls on the floor. I think, other parts made me maybe laugh or made me giggle or whatever, but this scene made me laugh out loud. I was like, what just happened? And then the mom comes out.
It almost reminded me of, like, that Black Mirror episode? I think it's called The Black Bear or something, where the girl's going through, like, the woods and she's killing people or something, and she's trying to escape, I guess, and then she walks into this, like, factory or something, and then all of a sudden, like, the lights turn on and there's an audience and they start clapping for her. It reminded me kind of that, like it doesn't take that turn, but it feels like that for a split second. You're just like, what? What is going on? And then you realize that it was all fucking scheme to test Beau and stuff.
But he knew the whole time.
But he was trying to get there. He was earnestly trying to get there. He did know the whole time, but he was gonna go anyways.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, what do what do I do with this? Like, and then you're on Beau's side, of course, because you were with him the whole time. You know the story. And then his mom accuses him of all this craziness. His mom becomes totally untrustworthy. I mean, they're both kind of untrustworthy throughout a lot of the movie, or at least it feels like Beau probably is. Maybe not. You get it's a nice negotiation that happens there. But the mom, I don't know, because, like, when they're on the cruise, she seems fucking normal for the most part, I think.
The mom?
Yeah.
No way.
No?
Not to me.
What
I'm getting major Bates Motel vibes when they're on the cruise.
That's true, I guess, because especially when they're in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, who tells you about the night you were conceived?
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah, that's not normal.
Yeah, that's not normal. Not normal.
That's awesome.
But I love that they put in that Mariah Carey song. And I think I was reading somewhere, or maybe I saw something where Ari Aster didn't know if he was going to get the rights to play this. Mariah's permission.
Okay.
So he said they tried over like 300 songs to pick out a song, but this is the song he wanted. So he wrote a letter to Mariah explaining the scene and, like, explaining why he wanted that particular song. And she gave him permission. And she, told him that she really appreciated him writing her a letter and gave him the go-ahead. And I don't know. Like, I guess that's...
I wonder what she thinks after seeing it.
I guess the song, it's funny in its own way because it's Mariah Carey. And then it's such a cheesy song. It's just kind of cringe almost too, which feeds into that comedy. So I don't know. Like, you went over 300 songs and this was the perfect song? All right.
I get it. Because it's kind of, I think it's in a funny way making fun of sex scenes in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because sex scenes in movies and games, video games especially, are fucking terrible. They're so cringe. They're not effective in any way whatsoever. Just like, a lot of violence is kind of in a similar way not effective in the way directors and cinematographers think it is. But sex scenes especially, oh my god, that's one of those things that you need to set up if you're gonna have it. If the story requires it or whatever, you need to set up, and then you need to let the imagination take control of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, it's just gonna be cringe, especially because sex scenes a lot of times will last way too long. You're just like, why is this lasting long? And I feel like in some movies that is intentionally supposed to make you feel a little weird, because I don't know, because it's a funny thing. It just kind of is a funny thing, I think.
And it's even funnier that she restarts the song.
Yes.
She's like, wait, hold on, let me restart this.
And that's how I feel like that's the setup. Man, the setup is when they're outside, I guess, because he stands there for so long and he's like in disbelief, right, looking at Elaine. They're really far apart. The camera is kind of like in the middle of them. It's not really close to either of them. We're not getting any kind of intimacy there, and you're like, is she like freaked? When it's hard to gauge what she's feeling from Beau.
Yeah.
And he's just real quiet, and he's like, he looks like a fucking bum, and it's just like,
and it's
kind
of
what?
And it's Beau. Like, we haven't gotten much.
Yeah, no,
that
no,
side
not
of
at
him.
all. We don't have that. We don't have that human side of Beau. We have this
insanity.
This insanity, man. This catalyst for just things to happen to him, and we know he's a fucking traumatic mess and stuff. But we get this weird. It's that first setup of cringe. You know, in a good way. Good bit of cringe right here, because it just is in tune with the rest of the movie, for sure. And then he kisses her, and you're just like, what? What is... Okay. And then she's like, all right, let's go inside. Where's the bedroom?
Bed.
And we're just like, okay, this is happening. And then you're just waiting. You're just waiting for something to go wrong. He's not getting laid. All right. And then he gets laid, and you're like, okay. Or like, I guess she's like, you know, go to the bathroom, get ready and stuff. And she's taking her clothes off, and he is like in the bathroom. He's just like, I don't know if I can do this right. And
you're like, he's not going to come out.
Yeah, and then he comes out and he's got his clothes on. And she's like, go take your fucking clothes off. And then he does. And you're like, and you're just like, oh, okay. When is it going to get bad? Like, when is he going to be like, all right, I can't do this? Or when is something fucking crazy going to happen? And he's naked, he gets in bed, and you're just like, okay, I guess this is happening. And then the song's playing, and then it's like the beat's already happening, and they're not quite there yet, and so she fucking resets it, and it's just like, god damn it, like, this is like, it's building up. It's like the most interesting cringe I've ever seen in my fucking life, you know, because most cringe is like secondhand embarrassment, right, for a lot of cringes, and then other cringe is like
bad cringe, like it wasn't meant to be cringy, but it turned out cringy.
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. It's hard to describe that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when you see it, you fucking know it.
Yes.
You're just like, ugh.
Yes.
I gotta get out of here. But this is like, I don't know. Because like, The Office is good cringe. But it has nothing, like, there's no similarities other than the absurdity. Just the word absurdity is relevant to both of these. The Office and The Beau's
and
Afraid.
Grace. And Grace. Grace is in The Office.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh.
She's Michael Scott's love interest.
Oh, that's funny.
That's funny you bring that up. Two things. Grace and
the word absurdity.
and the word absurdity.
Because when I think of... That's why I think The Office is just so seminal to TV, is just because of it's like tiptoeing right to the line of just unbearable cringe. But it's perfect. I don't know how The Office does that. For its fan base, right? For its audience and stuff. I'm not crazy about The Office, but I have to respect its pure dominance on sitcom or TV, whatever.
Yeah, I love The
syndicated
Office.
TV. Oh, I know. So many people do. It's super important. It's like Seinfeld. It's a super important film. I mean, series. To film. Just two things that are filmed. That's so funny. Grace is...
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. Small world. But things are looking up, you know. He orgasms, he doesn't die, and you're like, oh my god, this just happened, and we had a happy ending, you know. It's like the most effective sex scene I've ever seen in anything ever. And then it cuts to Elaine, and she's fucking petrified, Harry Potter style, and it's awesome. I don't know how you think of that. I don't know how you think of this. Like, I don't know how you think of any of this movie. This movie, some of this I get. Some of this I can totally empathize and see maybe even some of the things that Ari Aster's reading and stuff, because this is actually one of Ari Aster's original brainchild before he made Hereditary. This was kind of in the works for many years, like the last 20 years.
Okay, I don't know what I read, and I was a bit confused about some of the dates I saw. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought this just came out this year.
Yeah, there's a short film called Beau.
That explains it.
Yeah. And so that, I think maybe 2005 or 6 or something like that.
Okay.
And so that was like early Ari Aster. That was, you know.
So he's had some time to flush this out.
Yeah, this is obviously a very personal film to him. This is.
Oh, and that's, you saying that reminded me of some of the reviews that people were saying about how if he needs a therapist to let out his...
This movie is his therapy, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, like...
This is how you fucking do it.
He doesn't need to do it in film. He needs to go see a therapist and not, put his therapy on other people or whatever they were trying to say. And I saw a few of those, like, oh, he just needs to go to therapy. It's like, what? You know how many people write books instead of going to therapy or alongside of therapy? It's such a clever, awesome way to express yourself and to be vulnerable.
Yeah, it reminds me.
You need to do something with your life and your.
There is this trend, I think, that has happened probably since the dawn of super hyper commercialism, since the 40s and 50s, where there's this notion. I don't know. Let me back up. This is reminding me of this talk that David Jaffe had with Colin Moriarty on Sacred Symbols, about David Jaffe defending the capabilities of AI in video games and how it can start to eliminate the technical know-how of the game, and then you can just completely focus on the creativity. But going through that technical know-how involves a deep negotiation with your, own personal human condition. At the core of that, you're suffering, because, of course, it's the core of being self-aware is suffering and knowing you're going to die, right? But focusing on you can't have one without the other. Ari Aster making this film is the perfect synchronization of mastering filmmaking and mastering himself. Yeah. This is, you can't strip away, like someone saying that he should just go to a therapist and unload this on them, right? You're missing, you clearly don't understand the impact of art. You're just used to this commercial nonsense that we have to deal with on a daily basis, and then it is the weeds of the artistic world, right? We are completely over encumbered with fucking St. Augustine grass and poison ivy and shit. We don't have these beautiful, I don't know, fucking cool plants that people like. I'm not a plant person, right? But we're just constantly picking through this shit and we never clean it up, there's just no actual care in the world for this, things like Marvel and things like Call of Duty and things like all this pop music on the radio and stuff. We don't focus on what the individual may have experienced to lead to this point, There's no sense of history in what people care about,
Yeah.
It's so important, and this is a challenge. This is a thing that if you learn about any kind of art history, you learn about different artists facing themselves and people around them and having to deal with their issues, and they produce really great things out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't have those issues, if they dealt with those issues in a more utopian kind of way, if they went to fucking therapy and had this like a checklist 5-step program to get better and stuff, they wouldn't have made, Starry Nights. They wouldn't have made 2001: A Space Odyssey, They wouldn't have made fucking Stephen King. Can you fucking imagine how fucked up he is? Anyone who makes horror movies, like horror books at that clip, you know, I know he's definitely sold out and tapped into what people, you know, he knows how to prey on his audience, and you have to admire that. But at the core of what he has done and continues to do is something deeply probably disturbing, whether that's fueled by his upbringing, or drugs, or whatever, you know. It doesn't fucking matter from our perspective, right? His
intrusive thoughts, yeah.
His intrusive thoughts, but like, you wouldn't have any of this. How, you know, if you appreciate Stephen King on a deep level, you wouldn't have that. But you'd only have, I mean, I can't give you any examples but you see it. I don't know, the new Flash movie. The new Flash movie is not a brainchild. It's this, all right, how are we going to make money off of this demographic, and, you know, how many people need to work on it? Who do we need to get to draw in these number of people? I mean, that's all about the butts in the butts in the seats at the end of the day for them, and that's what everything's going to come back to. Which actors, what does the production need to be? What cheap director can we get? Do we still need Ben Affleck? I'm not sure. I think Michael Keegan.
Whoa. No, but I totally get it. Where's the rawness?
People still do on some level. I should say, young people, everyone knows someone like this when they're growing up, that they wish something bad would happen to them so they could have that influence to fucking do something, you know?
Oh my gosh.
That's like the emo kid's dream.
And, you know, I listen to Dave Ramsey. I've been listening to him for a few years. And the number one reason people start getting serious about their money, about their budgets, you know, paying off their debts, whatever, is when they have something bad happen to them. He calls it Murphy. He's always like, don't wait for Murphy to come to your door. You know, don't wait till you lose your job. Don't wait till you are, you know, filing for bankruptcy. Don't wait until your husband left you and you never had a job. Don't wait until you're 50 years old and you never opened your 401k in your 30s or your 20s. You know, don't wait for these bad things to happen for you to make the next move. And so many people do. Everyone that calls on his show, you know, has this sad story. Yeah. My husband died with no life insurance. What do? I'm a stay-at-home mom. I don't have a resume. I don't have job experience. That's awful. But, you know, something's got to push you to get your shit together. Yeah. And, you know, I'm drowning in debt. And some people are self-aware enough or want to get into a specific field that they know it requires not necessarily catastrophic things to your lifestyle, but things on a deep level, things that change your lifestyle in some way to inspire you in a genius way. Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the great things about existentialists, and just in general, is they've tapped into something that everyone experiences. There's nothing special about existentialists and what they feel and how they go about their daily lives. They are just so disturbed and paralyzed by how the world operates. Not in a political or economic way, but just how we operate with everything. We cut down trees to make beds out of them so we can sleep in them. We sleep in trees. You know, we cut out sides of mountains to dig up, you know, certain precious metals to trade, to represent like this concept of money. You know, like we tear up the natural world for our own satisfaction, yes, but to make our lives make sense. You know, we have to destroy and we have to domesticate things like plants and animals to help sustain our materialistic kind of life, you know? And these things, you know, are deeply disturbing to some existentialists, and that's I guess in a way I'm saying Ari Aster is either really in touch with his past, or he is a classic existentialist. One of the two. Maybe a little bit of both. Yeah, it's kind of probably hard not to be a little bit of both if you are
they are kind of one and the same.
One leads to the other.
Yeah. Because at the core of every existentialist, it is just an nth degree plus one sense of self and being aware of your place in the world. Not your place in a sense of your role, but just where you are at, literally, and how you are in the world. So, does that make sense? I don't like it when people say. It's fun to say it jokingly if someone needs help, right? But if someone is exercising their self-care in a hyper, a spotlight medium like movies, it might be one of those things that you just need to be self-aware enough about that maybe this is one of those pieces of art that we should just all kind of hyper-focus on in this moment, Because I guarantee you in 100 years, this movie's going to be remembered.
Yeah.
And no Marvel movie will. The Super Mario Brothers movie won't be. I think this movie's going down in history. Is that bold to say?
Well, that's really bold to say.
I think Ari Aster I don't like this movie more than Hereditary, but I think it's more important than Hereditary. Because, of course, I have my own human condition and suffering to deal with, and I am a little bit more inclined to like truly horrific things that just can't happen, like Hereditary. Beau's Afraid taps into a reality we don't want to face, on an exaggerated kind of way. But Hereditary is a possession movie, a demonic movie, so it's a little bit different, sort of. It's kind of a family drama, tragic affair type thing, first and foremost, which is what makes the movie great. But it's the demonic movie at the end of the day. Not very real. Does it make sense? Did you catch that?
Yeah, I caught that too well. Don't know how to follow up to that.
Yeah, it's okay. I
okay,
just don't like.
Have anything to say.
What'd you say?
It's okay. You don't have anything to say.
No, it was a lot. I'm sorry. That was a lot. When David Jaffe said that in that podcast, it just knocked the wind out of my sails in a intellectual level, because it just seems counterintuitive to me. It seems completely fucking wrong, to be honest, because I feel like you have to go through the hardship of learning a medium to exercise any true creativity on that medium. And I think that you can blow that up in any scenario. So.
No, I definitely agree. I think people.
Maybe I'm just too old, but people what? Yeah, sorry, that was a lot.
Yeah, but I think people who say those kinds of things don't know how to appreciate somebody else's world.
And I totally fucking get that, but I just don't want to say that, because is it snobby to say that? Like, you don't understand. Like, you need to get good, kind of thing. Or is that just the reality of it?
I think that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
I think people just need to become more self-aware. Come on. You have people saying, "Oh, I wasted 3 hours of my life." Did you? You decided you wasted 3 hours of your life.
You were probably on your phone the whole time.
Probably.
I don't know if you wasted it on your phone. I don't even know if you saw the movie.
Did you see the first act and were like, "Oh, this is crazy. I don't understand. I'm confused." And you were out. You were done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from a pure sensation standpoint, I don't know how those first 30, 40 minutes that momentum doesn't just drive you through the whole thing. Whether you get anything out of it or not. Jesus Christ.
I know.
I don't know, man. Like.
Yeah, and some lady was saying how her husband was the one who made her go see this film, and that she absolutely hated it. It was too long. It was confusing. And she's never going to watch any movie he ever recommends again. Okay, I guess some people just want to let, some anger out. They just want to vent. And I guess you're choosing a comment section to say these kinds of things. I really hope you do let your husband pick another movie. I hope you don't take that. Yeah, hope you don't take that to heart. But if your husband wanted to see this, maybe pay a little attention to it. He's obviously interested in something like this. Maybe he thinks there's something there to be said. So don't go shit on it immediately.
Yeah, well said. You should approach that with everything you can. I know it's hard with some stuff, but I don't know. Maybe a good example for like from a guy's perspective is getting into or appreciating something like Downton Abbey. You know what I mean? Downton Abbey is probably one of the best produced and written shows on TV ever, and it's a borderline soap opera-y period piece. Does not, at face value, it feels very feminine and girly, right? Wouldn't you say?
I mean, yeah, I guess I don't really visualize men seeing Downton Abbey.
I would like to go to the theater, like during the movie when it came out, or were there 2 movies? I can't remember. The one last year, I think, was called The New Era or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I would have, even at the time I thought about it, we just didn't go, but I would have loved to go just to see the ratio between men and women and how overwhelming it probably was. Women. I bet you it was.
I went to the premiere of all the Twilight movies.
Oh, yeah. That might be a good example. What is it?
All women.
All women.
I mean, I think, I was in 7th grade when the first one came out, and I went with a group of my friends, all girls,
Yeah.
And who took us? The mom. The mom went to take us. The dad wasn't coming. And then, as the next ones came out, I went to see them with girlfriends or friends who were girls or, girl family members. Majority girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but I challenge someone who thinks that way about Downton Abbey and give it a fucking shot, man, because you're gonna be, I didn't have that preconceived notion. I do have kind of feminine sensibilities, and when it comes to stuff like that, I do like period pieces because I like the production of a lot of them because they're fucking cool. But that's just the first example that pops in my mind. But Downton Abbey it's amazing. It's amazingly produced, amazingly written. It's an amazingly made show. It's probably one of the greatest shows of all time. Probably in top 50. I don't think there are very many great shows, to be fair, but so it's kind of, that's kind of a loaded thing to say. But if you guys out there are listening to this, if you got this far in this podcast, you gotta watch this film. I'm glad you liked it. I'm over being super surprised by the things you like because it's so all over the place. I'm still like a little bit surprised. I'm always gonna be a little bit surprised, but I'm not like, huh. I'm not like, okay, you like that. I'm like, okay, yeah, man. It's like almost not surprising that you would like it because I wouldn't think you'd like it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a funny thing.
And when we watched the trailer for this, I did not like it.
I don't even know what the trailer is about.
Yeah, I think part of the trailer was a bit animated, and we saw some of the play stuff.
Okay.
And
yeah. Okay.
I was like,
it's a little misleading, actually, isn't it? The
super
trailer.
misleading.
Yeah, I remember it now. Yeah, that's interesting.
And I was like, you're excited for this? All right.
And what I said earlier about the play, that kind of makes that even funnier because now that we know what that's about, it's kind of kind of making fun of you watching the trailer.
That's hilarious.
From the very beginning, which I think only reinforces what I'm saying is true.
That you might be onto something there for sure.
I think Ari Aster is the greatest filmmaker working right now, unless David Lynch comes back, of course. But I sincerely cannot wait for his next movie, and I hate that I love and hate, of course, right? I hate that it's going to take probably another 3 years for his next film to come out, because he's can't do the Martin Scorsese thing and come out every year or two.
I mean, if he comes out with the stuff he comes out with, I don't mind every 3 years,
Yeah, no, I don't either. I want him to take as long as possible. And of course, COVID may have had some influence. The original title of this movie was called Disappointment Boulevard.
That's right. I remember it had a different title.
Yeah, which I prefer Beau's Afraid for the title Beau's Afraid. But I don't love it. Don't love the title. I may have preferred the original title of the short film, Beau, just Beau. I think, because there's something kind of innocent and almost cartoonish about just that one word name, and almost autobiographical, you know, or just biographical maybe in general. And there's something really vulnerable I think I would have liked about just that. But what do you say?
I do agree with you there that I think Beau would have fit better, but I like that they kept Beau is afraid for these people out here that are so confused. They give it to you in the fucking title. He's afraid of everything. He's got anxiety. He's afraid. He's afraid of his mom. He's just afraid. Shit's going all around him. He's afraid. So they even gave that to you. So that, okay. If the title is there to spoon feed you, I'm gonna take it.
I think after talking, we're about to wrap this up. I'm gonna give you the rare example of this happening where I think Beau is Afraid may have earned a little bit of a bump on my letterbox in real time, because I put it at a 4 immediately. So I think I'm gonna bump it up to a 4.5.
Whoa!
I will say none of my 5s start out as a 5. So they start in the 4.5, and I gotta think about them. I think I've got like 6 or 7 5s, like No Country for Old Men. That was probably my first 5, and so this is in the runnings for sure, because it didn't stick like The Whale. 4 for me. Great, amazing film, but it's landed right there because it just doesn't tap into something that I need of a film, to elevate it on that level. But 4, 4.5, and 5s come extremely recommended. Pretty much virtually the same recommendation applies to those. But those 5s and the 4.5s are just such personal, like, films that just don't leave my mind.
Yeah.
I've been anxious to talk to you about this episode, but anxious from the angle of not knowing how to talk about it and how to justify my feelings for it. So I hope I've done a good job.
I think we did. I think we both did a good job. I immediately gave it a 4.5.
Wow.
I didn't need real life time.
Yeah.
I think the only reason it's not a 5 for me is the forest scene. But after talking to you about it, it's clicking. I would definitely love to see it a second time with a new perspective.
I definitely think this is the kind of movie that requires a second time. Like Hereditary, I think, is an essential movie that you watch by yourself, lights off.
Nope.
Nope. Headphones if you can,
No.
right? If in a singular time, if you can, let it just sink in like that. I've watched Hereditary probably 25 times because it's my bedtime movie, and so I've ruined that for me. But Beau's Afraid is definitely a film that I feel like it's kind of like the book Nausea, where you need to revisit it at different points in your life to, I don't know, remind yourself of, at the very least, of other people's suffering. At the very least.
Yeah.
Awesome film. And my mom's going to hate it.
Oh my gosh. She can't hate
wait.
it.
She's going to hate it.
Maybe after listening to this episode, she won't hate it.
I doubt
She'll
it.
love it.
Yeah, well, thank you for watching this film with me.
Thank you.
This was my second most anticipated movie ever after, like, starting this new initiative to watch more films. The first one was last year, The Northman. Robert Eggers.
Ew.
Which is awesome film, but not in this way. It's a solid 4 for me. It's not moving anywhere. If anywhere, it kisses that 3.5 area.
Yeah, that was like a 2 for me.
Oh my god, we should rewatch that. I think you'd like that better here, if you can understand.
That's true. We did watch it at the movie theater, and it was during a time where I was kind of anxious about going to movie theaters.
Yeah, I'm still anxious about going to movie theaters.
Yeah,
but think Ari Aster is my favorite director. No.
Whoa, bold
I'm sorry.
claim here.
I'm sorry, David Lynch, but I think you have been nudged aside by the younger, shinier model.
This episode is one for the records.
Yeah.
Just saying. You're never going to hear another 4 go into a 4.5.
Maybe once a year or something.
Live.
I don't know. There wasn't one last year. RRR was an immediate 4.5. Actually, I will say that, which is pretty rare too.
Yeah.
But
I give out all the highs. You know, I just love and appreciate.
You do. On a good level, on a good, such a deep, like, innocent and appreciative level. You know, you're good with that. You're not a curmudgeon. You know, not often, at least. You can be when shit's trash. You know, just when it's unwatchable. You know, you're honest about it too. But I appreciate that about you. Yeah, thank you. I love that you like this movie. That's awesome.
It is.
That's awesome. I like that. Yeah. Now we got hopefully Barbie is good.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully Barbie's good. That's my next movie I'm looking forward to.
Me too.
I think that next movie that's coming out, I'm looking forward to.
I think it is out, wasn't it? Is it out today? The 21st?
Maybe. Movies come out on Friday normally, I think. Of course, I want to see the new Spider-Man, but it's not essential.
July 21st.
Okay.
Oh, July. It's June.
Oh, July, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we got a little while. Yeah, that's probably my next big one. And then after that, I think Wonka. Probably my next one, which is December.
What about the Meg 2?
Well, no, I'm looking forward to it, but not.
I'm looking forward to it.
Barbie and Wonka are the big ones that are gonna finish out the rest of the. I'm sure there's gonna be some sneakers. I might love the Meg 2. If I love the Meg 2, that's be awesome. I don't love the Meg 1, but it's fun. You know, it's whatever. But I'm glad I watched it and everything. But the Meg 2, I'm definitely looking for. I want to see the new Transformers too. I wanna see the new Spider-Man. I want to see the new Pixar movie.
Oh yeah, Elemental.
I want to see the new DreamWorks movie with the Kraken lady animated girl going to school or something. I don't know. I want to see that. There's a bunch. I can't. Oppenheimer. That movie looks awesome. The new Christopher Nolan movie. Not a big Christopher Nolan fan, but his movies are something. They're hard to watch sometimes. You gotta be in the mood for a Christopher Nolan film.
Yeah. Go watch this. Go watch this film.
Please go watch this film.
If you already did and you think it's pure trash, watch it again. Yeah, it's 3 hours. Break it up in half if you need to.
Watch it with some headphones. Put your phone on the charger. Don't get on it. You know, maybe watch this on the weekend or something. Put some headphones on if you can, and just pay attention to everything. You know, just soak it in, experience it.
Just appreciate it.
At least appreciate it on a performance level and a production level. At the very least, it's so easy, and then a spectacle level too, because it's just nuts.
It's
nuts.
Nuts.
It's so easy. I feel like to let the momentum of the early part of this movie carry you through, and I think it pays off. I think the weirdest part is the big penis. I need to think about that some more. That might be, if I can think through that might elevate this movie to a 5. I don't know. It might have that big of an impact.
But that's such a small part that.
But it might tie something.
Through it.
It might tie something together though for me.
Okay, yeah.
It might tie something together.
I'm talking about the people that didn't like it because of that.
I know it is so small, and it's so it's a funny fucking scene. It's like holy shit, and then Jesus comes in and fucking shoots it, and then gets stabbed in the fucking head by the penis that has praying mantis claws, and you're just like,
what just happened?
And then Beau fucking falls down the attic stairs and tells his mom, he just begs his mom for forgiveness, and then it's insane. It's insane. I don't
go watch it.
I don't know. This movie, I think this movie does run the possibility of hitting a 5 for me. It's gonna probably take another week or two, but you bet your ass simmering up there. Thanks for listening. Take care, guys.
Goodbye. Till next time.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/filmistines, and follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching and keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmistines signing off.